Thanks very much for joining us. Dave Marriott, Peter Watkins and I are joined by Simon Rowley, who heads up Toyota's Lean Management Centre, TLMC, in the UK. And we're going to discuss Lean at Toyota, but more specifically, what you're going to see and do if you attend the Lean Practice Day next April. In a nutshell, we're going to spend the time today talking about Lean using some generic questions. All of you can apply to your situation. We're going to use these questions to discuss the framework and to discuss what Toyota does, and more importantly, what you'll be able to see. Brief introduction about LEA. We have a simple purpose. We're not for profit, established to help customers become self-reliant on their Lean journey. At LEA, we have three core value streams. These are learning, teaching and coaching and sharing. And in learning, we've done a number of pieces of research and experiments with the aim of self-reliance. Most notably, we've been using the Lean Transformation Framework to structure these, but we also turn research into teaching and coaching processes, and we've developed an online learning platform offering learning materials and processes a company can employ to develop self-reliance. The purpose of the LTF, which is our framework, is to provide a structure for self-reflection. That reflection begins with aiming first for self-understanding, and from there the reflection progresses to an analysis of the gap between one's current and desired states. Self-reflection is helpful to avoid the most common directly addressable failure mode that we found, what we call the hammer looking for a nail, or copy and apply the tool approach that seems rampant in organizational efforts to use Lean. Instead, we need an approach that articulates what to do, why we should do it, and how we can do it in our unique situation. So before we get into the detail of the LTF questions, I'll let Simon talk about TLMC and Toyota.
Yep, thank you, David. Just a quick explanation of Toyota Lean Management Centre. From now on, I will call it TLMC for time's sake. So the TLMC, we've got two offices. We're based here. I'm based here at the vehicle manufacturing plant, and you can see there I have a team of 10 members, actually just recently expanded to 11 members working at Burnaston, and where we make the engines at our Deeside plant, we also have another team there. These are very experienced Toyota members, ranging from team leader to section manager, who have basically gathered a huge amount of manufacturing experience over nearly 3 decades, and we are supporting other enterprises across UK and into Europe with their Lean journey. And what is it we're offering? We'll get more into the detail throughout this discussion, but just to give you a flavour of what we offer, we're taking the Toyota Production System, TPS. I think everybody knows what that is. You can see online what that is, and then we're combining it with the Toyota way, which is our core values and how we behave as a team. And what we're doing is we're showing how we develop people and processes, and how that ultimately helps develop the organisation. And we can offer our clients of TLMC how we apply those to develop those better processes, people and organisations.
What are we proposing to do for 2026 in terms of our annual summit, and also, more importantly, the Lean Practice Day with TLMC? We've been collaborating with TLMC, particularly on the site visits or the tours, since about 2018. Part of our reflection was that really that was only limited to sort of 38 kind of people initially at Deeside, and then we managed to expand that to the vehicle manufacturing plant in Burnaston. So really we wanted to try and increase the exposure of people to see what Toyota do. But also we wanted to expand the kind of knowledge and understanding around the Lean Transformation Framework and the questions, so that people can, as we said, self-reflect on what they've seen, digest that, and then apply that to their situation. So what did we do? We made an A3 in the spirit of lean thinking and practice. So we got our thoughts down onto one piece of paper and made our proposal to Simon and his colleagues at TLMC, which is a bit daunting going to Toyota with an A3. However, I think we passed the test because we're here now. But really, in terms of the headline summary, so really we want to share how lean thinking can tackle some of the problems and prepare people for the challenges of tomorrow. We wanted to raise awareness of latest developments in lean thinking and practice in the LTF, deliver genuine practical ways to start, deepen and enhance your own lean journey, and also help people build a network of lean thinkers across the sector. So what was the outcome of this? So you can see there in the table, actually, we've got in total a 3-day activity, but if you decide to partake with us, you'll only do 2. So actually, the summit is on the 29th of April. So that's our standard kind of summit activity. High quality content, lots of organisations sharing their learning, also their mistakes and activities. But we're topping and tailing that with what we call this Lean Practice Day, where we want to try and understand if Toyota were to ask the 5 questions of the LTF, how would they apply it at Burnaston and at Deeside. So you can either do the Lean Practice Day on the 28th, the Tuesday. You can either do that at Burnaston or at Deeside, so the vehicle plant or the edging plant. Spend the day with us at the summit, along with Toyota as well. And then also on the Thursday, if the Tuesday is not suitable, you can then do the Lean Practice Day again at Burnaston and Deeside. So we're targeting to hopefully expose 144 people to see what Team UK do. We're calling that the Lean Practice Day with TLMC. The 2-day summit package is actually less price than we had last year, and actually more importantly, we're hoping to raise around £50,000 for Team UK's charitable trust. So that's a significant increase to the monies that we've raised in the past. All of the money for the practice day goes straight to the charity. We don't take anything from that, so hopefully we can make our contribution there. So perhaps they're going to go to the next slide. So yeah. What's the kind of purpose? So it's an activity. It's not a tour. Hopefully you'll see Lean in action, and Simon will share some of that later on. So CTPS firsthand. Learn the right questions to think about and ask. So explore the LTF or Lean Transformation Framework. We'll be doing a lot of activity at the Gemba. So not in a classroom based around PowerPoint, but actually you'll be doing a lot of going, seeing and understanding. But then hopefully you'll be able to reflect on what you've seen and start to diagnose your own situation. So we've also developed a diagnostic for you to use, which will hopefully put into context some of the stuff that you'll see during the Lean Practice Day. And as I said, it's not a passive tour, it's hands-on, activity-based, chance for you to see and understand the thinking behind the questions and how Toyota, has applied that in terms of TPS, and also your chance to actually ask questions to further your understanding. As Dave mentioned, we tend to see some common failure modes with people trying to apply lean thinking and practice, and the LTF tries to counter those common failures. So if we think about question 1 and value-driven purpose, the question we're asking here is, what problems are you trying to solve? So if that's not clear within the organisation, you tend to find that you have a lot of confusion. The next question is then thinking about, how do we do and improve the actual work? So if we haven't designed and defined how that work should be done, and also we don't give people the capability to improve that work, then we tend to find that people will get very frustrated with the work that they're being asked to do. That moves nicely onto capabilities. So if we understand the value and what problems we need to solve, how we do and improve the work, how do we develop the capabilities we need in order to support those other 2 questions? If we're not developing our people and also the organisation, then we're going to create a lot of anxiety, because people will be, nervous and anxious that they don't feel competent enough to do the work that's being asked of them. Then we move on to management. So if we haven't got a clear management systems in place, and also the leadership behaviours that are needed, then we're going to get contradiction in our lean journey. And then finally, the culture piece, which is really what's the basic thinking and mindset that's going to drive that change. And if we don't address that, then we're going to get some resistance. So hopefully, if we can apply all of those questions in equal measures, then we should have a successful chance of a transformation for your situation. So in terms of the Lean Practice Day, the slides will follow this format, and this generally is the format of the day. So at a high level, we'll explain the thinking way behind those 5 questions, and then what you'll see is really how TPS kind of helps to address some of those questions in terms of Toyota's approach, Toyota UK's approach. So what we'll do is probably, if we move on to the first question and start to get Simon a bit more involved. So the first question that we've got here is value-driven purpose and what problems are we trying to solve? And really what we're trying to get people to think about here is, do people understand, what's the purpose of the organisation? Are they aligned in terms of, where the organisation is going and the strategy in order to achieve that, so that everybody right through the organisation understands what value they are trying to deliver, and more importantly, therefore, what problems do they need to solve at their level. So that all first piece is all about that alignment. The second piece is then to say, okay, if we're handing off problems to people to solve, then how do we go about tackling those problems? So different problems at different levels are going to require slightly different approaches. So, how do we make sure that people have the right thinking way in terms of tackling those problems at their appropriate level? So really what, alignment of purpose and also people tackling the right problems with the right kind of approaches for their level. So perhaps, Simon, probably over to you to, you've got some icons there on the right hand side. So what are we expected to see in terms of how Toyota UK thinks about that question?
Thank you, David. Yes, I think the first thing to say is obviously Toyota UK is part of a much bigger organisation. Whether we're talking regional within Europe, we're one of 6 manufacturing plants sharing vehicle and engine production in Europe, and of course we belong to Toyota Motor Corporation, who look after our global activity. And it's important that, as the graphic says, that we're vertically aligned. We're aligned with our global missions of zero carbon. We're aligned with our sort of European regional directions relating to recycling material. And of course, in terms of our local challenge here at Team UK, we're aligned with what's specifically happening in this country. So it's important that we're vertically aligned. And then once we have that vertical alignment across, between global, region and plant, as I said, we're one of 6 plants, but even in our own plant, it's important that, we embody manufacturing, paint, manufacturing and assembly, and all of the other people linked to Team UK. There are other departments here at Team UK and our suppliers that we're also equally aligned. So this vertical and horizontal alignment is pretty key. And what it means is that we all have a common challenge. And we're clear on that. And how are we doing that? Of course, everyone is aware of Hoshin Cannery. So Hoshin Cannery is our sort of go-to tool for making sure that common challenge is clear to all. Hoshin Cannery, direct translation is obviously direction management, and that's important. It's about direction setting. It's not about giving the solutions to those common challenges. But it's very good here at Toyota UK is the way that's clearly communicated. Every member in our organisation has an opportunity to hear the Hoshin. It's not sort of stuck on a wall in the back of, a sort of managing director's office. It's very clearly communicated to the members. And Toyota UK will actually stop the line in the new year, within the first couple of weeks of the new year, so that the senior management team can brief every member on that Hoshin Cannery direction. And as I said, it's about direction management. So it's really important that you give space for the organisation to develop their own activities. You're not handing down an activity plan. You're saying, this is the direction we want to move in. Honestly, can all of the top bosses know all of the solutions to every problem that's out there? No, they don't, but they can certainly help give direction and then leave space for the organisation to develop their own activities. And then, as I say, the problem solving can be across the range. It could be a very complex company problem through many divisions, or a problem that hasn't found a solution. We haven't found a solution for a number of years. We have a very high level practical problem solving tool called Toyota Business Practice here, which sort of trains guys to find that solution. Or it just needs something happening at the group level, where we can use very simple practical problem solving approach, PPS. But whether it's TBP or PPS or some other problem solving tool, it's still fundamentally saying, where are we trying to get to? What's the gap? Let's gather the data. Let's understand the point of cause and establish root cause and 5 whys and develop countermeasures and see them through implementation. So direction comes from the Hoshin Cannery. Everyone's aligned on it, clearly communicated, and people are given space to develop their own activities within that Hoshin Cannery process.
Great. Yeah. So, I mean, basically people will be able to get to see that Hoshin in action, certainly at Burnaston, as you said, it's actually on the wall in terms of, you know, as the assembly shop. So be able to see how you're practically communicating and declaring where you are on that. And then, as you say, you know, different strokes for different folks. Same with the problems. It's not one size fits all. You've got different approaches based on the problem and the level. So I think that'll be a great insight to how you guys manage that activity.
Yeah, and Dave, if you go around and you see them, what you will see as well isn't they're not all the same. Whilst we've got our high level host, may look very familiar, you know, the divisions and the management team in there are allowed to sort of almost develop their own methodology for doing it. You know, within the space of making sure that there's an activity, you know, supporting the host in cannery. It's great for setting personal objectives as well. You can say this is what company needs to achieve this year. You can add them to your middle management team and say, you know, please develop an activity plan for this time. So yeah, it's much more than just this is the way we're going. It's a great opportunity to develop your organization.
Yeah, and it's a great point, isn't it? You know, we're going to Deeside, which make the engines. You got chance for people to go to Burnaston, where you make the vehicle, but you're not going to see exactly the same thing, are you? Because the situations are slightly different in terms of what the members are doing at those locations, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. You know, their vertical alignment to the global, regional and global is different from ours. You know, our overall vision of Toyota is to provide mobility for all, but you know, Toyota UK is still making an ICE vehicle. You know, engine plant is supporting, you know, hybrid engine production from across the world. So, you know, we've got different customers and different activities in our vertical alignment.
Okay, yeah, so we're on to the second higher level question. How do we design, do and improve the actual work? So in this is really making sure that we understand the current state today, what the work is, or if it's a new process, we need to design it from scratch. And how do we get that to be stable? And also then move on, more importantly, to improving that towards the goals and targets. As Simon mentioned before in the Hoshin, we want to improve the work towards those. So Simon, same sort of question again. You know, if we go around Toyota, what we're going to see around actually doing the work and improving the work.
Well, hopefully what you'll see is you'll hopefully see any Toyota plant fully utilising the Toyota production system to eliminate those 3 M's. And those 3 M's there, as I've indicated there, Mura, Muri and Muda. And I've split them like this so you can see really where the responsibility, I think, sits within the organisation. So Mura and even this Muri Oberburn, the responsibility to avoid that definitely sticks with the management team. You know, are we doing TAC-based production? Have we got Hey Junker? You know, are we setting up the operation? You know, basically the members, you know, on the line, whether they're making engine or cars to succeed. So you know, without TAC-based thinking, without Hey Junker, then you're already going to struggle as an organisation to achieve a smooth, continuous output. And then from a manufacturing side, you know, what can the members and the process designers and the Gemba management, what can they do? Well, they need to focus on those 7 wastes, and the best tool for doing that is have standardized work. You know, develop those consistent, reliable, repeatable processes. We take a long time actually before we actually start making a vehicle to make sure that we've designed processes that don't have those mudas built into them. Times change, people get better, you know, but you can find mudas later on as the processes become more mature. But by having that consistent, reliable and repeatable process, we're doing our best to assure safety, both from a, you know, almost, you know, an accident safety, but also from an ergo safety for our members. We're assuring that quality, follow the standardized work. You should be able to achieve quality first time in everything you do. And it gives us the flexibility, and that refers back to the customer driven idea from the first half of this slide, where we need to be flexible to customer demand. If the customer wants more cars, we need to speed up, we need to add processes. If the customer need less vehicles, then we need to be able to slow down and take out processes in order to maintain our efficiency. But most importantly, why do we do all this? It's the foundation for Kaizen. So, you know, we want our members constantly engaged in Kaizen. You can only Kaizen from a known point, which you get from your standardized work. Anything before that is just practical problem solving. It's just getting back to standard. But once you're achieving that standardized work consistently, then you're in a great place to do your Kaizen activity.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of companies, isn't it? They view standardised work as, I think it's restrictive, but actually it's the starting point to be more creative, isn't it? Yeah, designing it to be better. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's not restrictive, as you say. It gives you the opportunity to be creative. It's that safety net members need to have a go at Kaizen. If it does, we always say if it doesn't work, well, that's fine. We had standardized work yesterday, it worked perfectly fine. What we've tried today hasn't, for whatever reason. We didn't do a good job at understanding what was required. We'll just go back to the old standardized work. So actually, you are creating an opportunity to allow members to be creative and not constrain them. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, let's move on to the third question then, which is all about capabilities to be able to do that. Yeah. So how do you develop the capabilities we need? And the capabilities we're talking about here is for the organisation. What does the organisation need? And also for the individual. So when we talk about capabilities, we need to talk about skills, development of those capabilities in the organisation, and going through the various skill levels, not just training, but actually that progression through 4 skill levels. And who does that development of people and leaders, their involvement in that, and having some plans and activities in place to be able to do that. I think this is probably one of the biggest gaps that we see in companies when we go out and about, and how that is. So can you talk a little bit about how Toyota do this?
Yeah, Peter. So at Toyota, we've developed a member development system called the Floor Management Development Style, FMDS for short. Everything's got a lovely acronym here. And what is the purpose of FMDS? And it's, as you say, Peter, now everybody has got a part to play. Whether it's your team members, your operators, or whatever you call them, they are the most important people. They're making whatever it is you're making, whatever your enterprise is doing. So understanding what they need to do their job every day, you need to be clear on that. And then as you move through your organization, through team leader, group leader, section manager, and all the way through, what is the expectation as you move through those roles? So what's the minimum job role you need to do? The focus is very much on Gemba coaching. So, from the moment you arrive, once you've had your time in the dojo, which is a sort of 1 week fundamentals training area, you go to the shop floor, and very much you're being trained by a professional, experienced member and a team leader who's going to help you learn a process. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of idea just rolls on, through your development. And a very important part we play here in terms of making sure that the succession planning works, that we don't have these gaps between team member to team leader to group leader, or when somebody new gets the job and you kind of have to worry if they're going to be able to cope. We've got a great program here of pre-promotional training. So once a gap's been identified in the organization, you're looking through the team members who's going to make the next best team leaders. It shouldn't be a surprise, you're already collecting all that information. You do a pre-promotional training plan. They get some more mentoring as they go through that, so when the opportunity to become team leader finally arrives, that they are really able to hit the ground running. Most newly promoted team leaders would have had a chance to stand in as team leader before they reach that point. So Gemba focus coaching and pre-promotional training is really, really important. I spoke there also about recognition of future challenges. One of them is succession planning. People are constantly leaving your organization, whether they're a whatever kind of organization. Here at Toyota, we think we're a great organization, but people leave. They find new opportunities. So we need to be ready for that, and succession planning is one of them. But as we sit here now, we have to think about future challenges. Toyota is a very experienced, Toyota UK especially, very experienced organization. We have a retirement risk. We need to understand what those future organization gaps, and of course new technology, we're learning almost every day of some new wonderful AI gadget that's going to help us all, but we need to think about how to deploy them so it helps people, and we just don't go technology mad because it's there and we want to use it. How will it best support our members? Some of the things we're doing now, of course, as I already mentioned once, we're super slick on our succession planning. We know it's important to transfer knowledge. Whilst we've got all this new things coming, and we've got 34 years nearly here experience of making cars, it's important that those people at the more mature end of our organization are transferring that knowledge over to the younger generation, and we're very good at benchmarking. Toyota UK has no shame in looking at what's best out there in the marketplace, particularly in manufacturing, going and having a look and saying, well, actually that's a little bit better than we do it. We should apply that here at Toyota UK. So that's the way we approach our sort of, making sure everyone has the opportunity to get the best experience while they're working for Toyota.
Yeah, I think, Simon, the last time I went there, you'd improve your system on this tremendously, and the big point that I learned was the fact that it's pull based as well. You're asking people what they want to learn, which is a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we know how to make cars. We know how to make engines. We're good at that. But actually, the world is changing. The people that came through the door here 20 years ago are very different from the people who come from the door now. We need to be wary of that, and we need to be agile enough to sort of change our approach to developing people. Toyota's benefited from super experienced people maintaining the way we do things. We need to think about how that works in this modern world we live in.
Yeah, so Simon, there's a lot discussed and available on the development of management systems. So in the LTF, there's this question that can be split into two. Firstly, what management system, and then secondly, what behaviours are required to work in a lean way. And we recognise that effective management systems ensure performance is achieved, keeping the trains running on time, but they combine stability and small improvements, the Kaizen, with some step changes, the Kaikaku. So what are we going to see and learn from looking at Toyota's management system and the behaviours that you promote when we do the practice day?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I honestly could have filled slides and slides of visualization here, but I thought I'd try and just make it as simple as I could, and sort of these 3 steps, and I think they sort of more match there what you had in the LTF. First of all, we have to be able to see there's a problem, and we've got something called abnormality at glance, AAG. Everything's got an acronym, but how do we know when something's wrong? We're very big on process fundamentals. Can we spot when something isn't in the right place? And the simplest tool for this, of course, is just 5S. And I think people see 5S as a way of just keeping things tidy, but actually they're a great indicator of something that's not right. So when you go to the processes, the flow rack in the right place, or the things that the members need all of the time to do their process, are they in the right place to help them do it? So, what are the tools that you can go to the shop floor and say, that something's wrong? Andon, of course, is a great thing. So Andon at Toyota UK, everyone knows, or Andon in Toyota world means pull a cord, press a button, red light will come on, team leader will come and help you. That's what it physically means here at Toyota. But what does it mean in your organization? Does everybody have the ability to put their hand up and say something's wrong, please come and help me? So and then Toyota, it's a great question that people ask us, and a great comment. Is team leaders worth it? It's a lot of your organization. The principal role of a team leader is to identify the abnormality at glance and help the members be able to do their job every day, their process every cycle. So we believe that having someone to manage that abnormality in real time is really, really important. Then how to visualize the opportunity. So you collecting all that wonderful Andon data, but what do you do with it? You need to collect it, you need to be able to stratify, you need to be able to use it to solve problems. So making slim and simple KPIs. Lots of people are kind of obsessed with lots of KPIs, loads of KPIs, lots of KPIs, big walls and walls of KPIs. Keep it simple. What are the headline KPIs? And more specifically, especially when you get down to team and group level, what are the ones that they can influence? There's no point telling them about the cost of a car when they're only using the gloves. So, really make it mean something to them so that they can do something about it. And then that leads you to the next one then, which is then they can solve their own problems. And we talked before about how to develop practical problem solving and how Hoshin Cannery will help you do that. Well, here's another way that we can help our team and our team members become problem solvers by keeping it slim and simple and mean something to them. And then the last step of that, I think, is how do we support as management? Now we've got Genchi Genbutsu, go to the place where things happen. It's really important that your management team get out there, use the top 2. They can see when something's wrong. They should be able to, just as the team leader and the group leader, go to the shop floor and say, I can see why my members are struggling. But you need to go to the shop floor. You do that. You definitely can't do it from your desk. Break through those bottlenecks. There will be many occasions of all those problems that you've found where the team members, the team leaders, the group leaders just can't fix it on their own, and they need your help. And that's where, again, management can break through those bottlenecks and provide the correct resources. And more often than not, it's not money, it's just time, it's people, it's the right knowledge, it's the right person there just to make that breakthrough and solve that problem, just to keep that momentum going of we're fixing problems every day, we're in charge of our own problem solving. You know, we don't need to rely on everyone else. And ultimately, this is what we're aiming for. Everyone is a problem solver. There are 2,500 people here at Toyota UK. You know, we don't need a special engineering or QA function of problem solvers. We do for those big technical problems, but they're less than 10% of your problems. Just get everyone on the shop floor engaged in problem solving, and you'll solve a whole lot of problems. So this is our mission here is to make everyone a problem solver.
Great. Okay. And hopefully, you know, we talked about this the other day, this opportunity to be able to see the frontline management system, but also be able to see that tiered kind of approach to the management system. You know, that'll be quite an insight, I think, for people.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And what people will see is, you know, from a moment the member pulls an add-on, you know, what is the actions that happen depending on what that add-on is. Is it just a case of the team leader supporting the member at that one moment, allowing the member to start the next process, and just a one-off item that, you know, no need to stop the line, I've got control of this, carry on? Or is it, you know, as you say, actually this needs a practical problem solving, let's get together as a team, let's do a QC circles event, or no, this is out of my sphere of problem solving, I need to hand it over to my group leader and section manager. But you can see particularly where the management then comes in at those layers to make sure that progress keeps happening. You don't have a problem that's on the board for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months. You know, this is where the management needs to keep that momentum going of problem solving, so that people keep raising their problems to you, so that you can get this continuous process of improvement going. Definitely, yeah.
Great. Okay. And then the last question is obviously this piece around basic thinking and mindset. You know, at Toyota, you have the Toyota way. So can you explain what, why, and how, you know, what we're going to see? What's the why behind the Toyota way, and the how? You know, what is it and what does it look like, please?
Yeah, it'll be a tricky one. I think I don't know whether you'll see it or feel it more, or, you know, or get an impression of it happening. So, you know, the Toyota way is, you know, is our values as members, as an organisation. And I've written them up there as it was in 2001. And actually, you've heard a lot of these words actually said. I've already said, you know, so. You know, common challenge, opportunity for Kaizen, go to the Gemba, Genshi Genbutsu, respect for development, and how to create that teamwork. So you will see that happening. Hopefully, you know, if you're not many people are here in the morning, but if you're here for the first 2 hours of a day in the morning, you know, you will not find many people sat in the manufacturing office. Almost everybody will be down at the Gemba, and what they'll be doing, they won't just be walking around to be seen. They will be watching the process, talking to team leaders, checking out what yesterday's biggest problem was. It may be just going to the line and just thanking a member who's come up with a great safety Kaizen last week and just taking the time to do that. So I think you'll probably feel it more than you'll see it, but you'll find you'll definitely see evidence of that. And then just to say, you know, I already mentioned that the world is changing rapidly, and you know, the modern generation, the Z generation, the Alpha Gen, you know, I think they have the same values, but they have different words that kind of trigger those values in them. So what even Toyota recognizes that, you know, we need to change with the times, and what we're using now is, as you can see there, the sort of 10 behaviors of the 2020 Toyota way is like, you know, these are words that were definitely appealing to the modern generation values. But again, whether it's the old-fashioned, the 2001 or the 2020, it's more important that you see people behaving in that way. So hopefully you'll get to see that. And I think I've just got this little illustration down the bottom here, because I think people come here and they sort of say, yeah, you've got that culture, you know, Toyota, you know, you have that culture thing. It takes a lot of hard work, you know, and it has taken a lot of work, a long way even before my time. You know, the Toyota way came around in 2001 to support Toyota's globalization, but it goes all the way back to, you could almost argue, the 1930s. And Kichiro Toyoda-san's way that he wanted the company to run. And how we behave creates this culture that people are on about. So there's continuous improvement and respect for people. And I already talked about FMDS, and FMDS makes sure that our organization is developed to maintain that culture. So, you know, it's a lot of hard work. And what we always tell people is, anyway, we have Toyota, we have FMDS, we have TPS, as you can see here in the model. What are those versions in your company? You know, how is it you're going to do things? How are you going to develop your organization, and what values are you embedding in your organization as you go through that development? And hopefully, I said, you might not see it, but hopefully you'll feel it when you come to Toyota, that there's such an onus on how we develop our people and how we develop what they do. And at the end of it, of course, we make cars and hopefully we make a profit. But it's about what we do and developing the people.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. We've given people this helicopter view of TPS and the LTF questions. If we want to apply, I don't know, good lean, we need a way of diagnosing the current situation and a diagnostic to reveal our own gaps to close. This slide's just the work dimension, but I'm sure people will probably be most familiar with this. We're going to expand on this whole piece of research, and at the practice day, visitors will have the opportunity to learn about diagnostic and then apply it to their situation. The idea is to basically explore the LTF, reverse engineered from the common failure modes, go to the Gemba, discover how Toyota avoids these failure modes, and then identify gaps in their own approach, and then a plan to close them. So for those that want to go and see and do, and not just learn some theory, it's a unique opportunity. You can attend the practice day on the 28th or the 30th, either side of the UK Summit. The idea is to look at what Toyota does through the lens of these 5 questions. You know, how does the most successful lean organization avoid the most frequent failure modes? And if we ask what Toyota does to define value-driven purpose, identify the key problems to solve, we can see what we do in our organizations to answer those same questions. Then we can reflect to work out the gaps we need to close for our unique situation. So people can sign up to the event on our website. We planned only 144 places, and they are selling pretty fast. 25% of those tickets have already sold. We don't want you to be disappointed, but we'd love to see you there. It's a unique opportunity, and thanks very much.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest lean content.